Hey everybody, Kevin here, and quick update, I have the van back, I got it tested out, I got the air conditioner recharged, I am ready in the next 48 hours hopefully to hit the road and get out of here. And I'm not sure which path I'm going to take for sure yet because I tend to just start winging it when I'm traveling, but I wanted to talk to you and give you some tips for when you are traveling Interstate 40 across this great country, because you're going to have some surprising things to deal with. So let's get to it. Interstate 40 will run basically from Northeast Tennessee all the way to California. You can take 40 all the way across this great country. If you're coming out of Virginia or Pennsylvania and you're coming down Interstate 81, 81 will drop down, come around, and run into 40 anyway. I mean, it is literally a straight shot to where you don't have to get off anywhere. And it's going to take you through Tennessee, Arkansas, part of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. So you're going to have some varied roads and some things you need to know. The first one is going to be altitude sickness. Some people this bothers, some people this doesn't. Luckily, I really couldn't tell an effect. But also, being from the east and having not traveled this route before a couple of years ago, there was someone I knew that went a few weeks ahead of me, and they were talking on the phone about not feeling well, and I thought that was odd, and the altitude was messing with them, and I just didn't get it. Because to me, the West is flat. Well, when you're coming across Interstate 40, it is not flat. You are coming across the top of Arizona. You are near the Grand Canyon. You're coming across the top of New Mexico. And you are going to hit heights that are about 8,000 feet. Now, I've come in from the east and hearing this stuff, you always heard Denver, the mile high city, 5,000 feet. I didn't realize you were going to really hit places that were a higher elevation. So keep that in mind because that does bother some people. The second thing is it will play havoc on vehicles. If you have an older carbureted vehicle, it can cause problems. And even if you have a newer vehicle with everything computer controlled, it can still cause problems as you go up and down in these huge elevation differences when you're driving. And I was in the minivan, the gold minivan, on the last trip out there, and I can tell you there were several times that it just took off, just revving, running 2,500 RPM at idle and putting it in gear, and the wheels would almost squeal. And I would have to shut it off and let it sit for a couple of minutes and start it back up, and then the computer would figure out what was going on with the amount of oxygen it was getting, and everything would be fine. But I had that happen a couple of times, so just something in case you run into that situation, you'll know how to handle it. Just cut the vehicle off, let it sit for a few seconds, start it back up, let the computer recalculate everything, and you should be good to go. The second thing, you're going to basically cross the entire state of New Mexico, and that's going to be the sparsest place you are going to hit on Interstate 40. You are going to hit long gaps of nothingness, including one that's going to run from memory 150 to 200 miles that, you know, you may be able to jump off and hit a ghost town, but as far as finding real facilities, they just about don't exist. And you're going to see some signs that are basically telling you it's 100 miles to nothing. So make sure that you get gasoline at every opportunity, because if you're driving a bigger van or an RV or something that does not get very good gas mileage, even though you may have a pretty good gas tank, you can burn through that pretty quick rolling down through there. The great thing is the scenery going through there on Interstate 40 is absolutely awesome. It is going to set you up for all the scenery you're going to see for the rest of that trip if you're headed westward. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place, but it's sparse. So make sure that you are prepared with everything you need. Make sure you're filling up at every gas stop. The third thing that's going to happen as you're traveling across Interstate 40 is Route 66 is going to come down from Chicago, and 66 is going to basically butt in and run parallel with 40, starting part of the way into Oklahoma and on across the country to the west. You are going to run into a lot of different museums, official museums, the official New Mexico Museum, the official this museum, the official that museum, that will be right off of an exit off of Interstate 40, and it will be a big, shiny, new glass, metal, beautiful building. That is tourist trap heaven. You're going to pay $10 or $12 to go through and tour that crap. And most of the stuff you're going to see in there has nothing to do with Route 66 anyway. It's going to just be a bunch of antique road signs and stuff. So my tip, budget travel guy tip, is this. The shinier the building is that has the word museum and Route 66 into it, don't go. Because there are so many little museums in these little towns as you jet off that have the real stuff and have real people there that care, that will talk to you and give you history on things, instead of these things, interstate traps, where you have a 17-year-old that should be working at McDonald's running these things, and they don't know anything about the area. They just don't. They're of no help at all, except to sell you tour guides, books. So go to the smaller places if you're interested in those museums. Go to the hole-of-the-wall places in the little towns along Route 66, paralleling Interstate 40 anyway. Most of those places are free. At best, they charge a couple of bucks. The free ones go in. Those people will be wonderful. You'll get 66 history. You'll get their local history. Those are definitely the best places to stop. The free ones, give them a little bit of a donation. Give them a nice donation, because trust me, it is going to be better than that $10 or $12 tourist trap crap. Another one, budget travel guy tip, is if you want souvenirs. Now, Arizona, it's a dry heat. You can go into the tourist trap 66 places, and you can pay $15 for that mug. You can stop at a Walmart and buy the same mug for $2 or $3. But your best one is going to be Petrified Forest as soon as you cross over into Arizona, if you're coming east to west. Petrified Forest National Park. It's basically a 30-mile drive through there. Again, make sure you're filled up with gas before you take off through this thing. Beautiful scenery, all the petrified trees that fell many years ago. But one of the reasons that place became a national park and was protected before that was because of thievery, of people going in there and taking these things and busting them up and selling them to tourists. So you can't do that anymore, but I'm pretty sure they stole enough back in the day to have enough for the next 500 years. But what's going to happen as soon as you leave Petrified Forest, every place you do stop is going to be offering to sell you this stuff, from little pebble-sized stuff to things the size of a small Volkswagen for many thousands of dollars. And if you want those kinds of souvenirs of things that actually came from there, that petrified wood, the closer you are to it, the more you're going to pay. When you're 15 miles away from it, it's going to be high. When you're 75 miles away from it, it's going to be half price. When you're 200 miles away from it, you'll drive around those little towns, and there will be people that have chunks the size of cinder blocks they're using as door stops, or holding something down on their front porch. The stuff is not worth what they make it out to be when you're close to that place. So if you want those Petrified Forest souvenirs, buy them far away from there. And trust me, you will get them much cheaper. You may end up paying 20% of what you would pay close to that place for the exact same thing. So hopefully those tips helped you out, because at some point on some trip, on some journey back and forth across the country, you're going to end up on part or all of Interstate 40. It's a nice road, but it's different. Like I said, especially for us East Coast guys, I would assume it would be different if you were coming from Canada or you're coming from the Pacific Northwest and you haven't had to quite deal with that varied of an interstate across the country. As for me, I'm hoping to get out of here soon. I bring you a bunch of videos. I've got some other stuff I've been working on too, as far as exactly what's been done to this van, a few extra upgrades and things we've done to this van to make this trip better, give you some ideas on things to do with your own vans or your own little RVs. So a lot of stuff coming. We'll see you soon.